Question: didn't the Eves or Lilith have a phallus or phalluses? So how are they reproducing? You see, besides the babbling mixed with the truth, they were still concealing so many things. If you were to listen closely to the learned, broads, the swears, would have you believe that Lilith was a swear like them because of Sheba and the mess that was going on there with Solomon. I'll save that for the Jesus and the New Testament video, or chapter maybe. But let's read you a little bit more on what's happened to Lilith.
Alphabet of Ben Sira, the pseudepigraphical 8th-10th centuries. Alphabet of Ben Sira is considered to be the oldest form of the story of Lilith as Adam's first wife. Whether this particular tradition is older is not known. Scholars tend to date the alphabet between the 8th and 10th centuries AD. The work has been characterized by some scholars as satirical. The idea in the text that Adam had a wife prior to Eve may have developed from an interpretation of the book of Genesis and its dual creation accounts. While Genesis 2:22 describes God's creation of Eve from Adam's rib, an earlier passage, 1:27, already indicates that a woman had been made.
No. As we just went over in the previous chapter, there are only biological men in the Garden of Eden. At that time, again, satire. It's a Free Martin, Edomic story.
So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created in the same way, male and female created he him. Male and female created he them. The alphabet text places Lilith's creation after God's words in Genesis 2:28, that it is not good for man to be alone. In this text, God forms Lilith out of the clay from which he made Adam, but she and Adam bicker. Lilith claims that since she and Adam were created in the same way, they were equal, and she refuses to submit to him. After God created Adam, who was alone, he said, "It is not good for man to be alone." He then created a woman for Adam from the earth, as he had created Adam himself, and called her Lilith. Adam and Lilith immediately began to fight. She said, "I will not lie below." And he said, "I will not lie below." And he said, "I will not lie beneath you, but only on top. For you are fit only to be in the bottom position, while I am to be the superior one." Lilith responded, "We are equal to each other, inasmuch as we were both created from the earth." But they would not listen to one another. When Lilith saw this, she pronounced the ineffable name and flew away into the air. Adam stood in prayer before his Creator. "Sovereign of the universe," he said, "the woman you gave me has run away." At once the Holy One, blessed be he, sent these 3 angels, Senoi, Sansenoi, and Samangeloth, to bring her back. The Holy One to Adam, "If she agrees to come back, what is made is good. If not, she must permit 100 of her children to die every day." The angels left God and pursued Lilith, whom they overtook in the midst of the sea.
From Ballatine's Law Dictionary, 1948 edition, human being is defined as follows: sea monster. From the same dictionary, monster is defined a human being by birth, but as some part resembling a lower animal. And that human body contains the Leviathan, or rather is the Leviathan.
In the mighty waters wherein the Egyptians were destined to drown. They told her God's word, but she did not wish to return. The angel said, "We shall drown you in the sea." "Leave me," she said. "I was created only to cause sickness to infants. If the infant is male, I have dominion over him for 8 days after his birth, and if female, for 20 days. When the angels heard Lilith's words, they insisted she go back. But she swore to them by the name of the living and eternal God, "Whenever I see you or your names or your forms in an amulet, I will have no power over that infant." She also agreed to have 100 of her children die every day. Accordingly, every day 100 demons perish. And for the same reason, we write the angels' names on the amulets of young children. When Lilith sees their names, she remembers her oath, and the child recovers.
Why would the angels, men and man-mans, have to hold on the Leviathan? If you aren't picking up on it, I'll just tell you. Is it Lilith, or the Lilith's real given the context? If the swears are trying to say that they are equal to the biological men's because of the similarity, the junk, it would be strange, as that would mean that they had a phallus as well. And shocker, a working phallus on a broad is a biological man. As such, babbling would insinuate that atoms aren't heteronormative. Not to mention this, Lilith stuff is quite literally Babylonian Talmudic nonsense, more a folklore, a tale, than anything else. But yet, what did they cut off from Lilith in such a context? Well, it's quite obvious what they castrated off. Oh, so you maybe so maybe it's Samael? Sorry, but shocker, Samael isn't exactly real either. Someone is trying to obscure something. The only person that's listed as a beast or lower than that, a android, but with a working cucumber, capable of making demons male like flesh, are the Eves. Some people would be like, oh bro, it's the medulla oblongata and the brain in the tree, and on and on. But they're willingly forgetting this is about gender, which is the real race, by the way. From what we are seeing, that would only be a little part of it, as they are both flesh-based. Notice the closeness of the Leviathan and the Eves, as we see before as Eve being referenced as the first Leviathan. I mean, do these bleach paintings look right to you? Yet again I ask, what did they chop off from the Eves? Well, that's right, that. Which funnily would make Eve's statement about us being equal to the man's Edom in Lilith's place make so much more sense. You see, they can't say Samael or Lilith. A little side note, the tribe of Dan is being referred to by the father Jacob as Nakash. But we have a problem. In such a context, the snake's behavior would be female. Often, you would also see on Dan's flag a bird or dragon carrying a snake, I should say. To make things short, Dan would be better described as a seraph than a Nakash, as the feathered serpent matches perfectly. It would also be in the way, an adder in the path, that bitten the horse's heels. This dragon is called the plumed serpent, the feathered dragon. Again, with these Freemarns, things are subtle, always. So what serpent would that be, since it's not a seraphim, a seraph, mentioned in that verse that they are alluding to? The fact that it seems to have somewhat flesh-based wings, similar to a seraph. What is similar to a broad dragon, but isn't? And also matches Eve or Samael in some way. And now blended.
One thing that I would really like scientists to study is, why do gay people like get the voice? Like, ready, listen to my voice. Can you hear me speaking right now, right? This is a gay voice. Where did I get my gay voice from? Like, this is like, I would say this is a pretty gay voice. Like, this is probably like, I would say like a 9.5 out of 10. Like, gay voice sounds like, but where does it come from? How did I get a gay voice? Because like, females don't sound like this. Straight males don't.
And you will never, ever unsee that, reptile. What were the Freemarns in the Garden of Eden doing? Complaining about not actually being a man. Oh, that's right, making other Freemarns, demons, Edomites, when they realized that they had some kind of seed to them to make these cute abominations. By the way, we will get to the animals in the next chapter. But since they aren't, biological males, they come to you as an inverted Edomites, demons. That's where the term is coming from. It's why people get so confused where demons show up, as explaining this would compromise these flesh gender inverted robotoids. Imagine a biological male walking up to you and asking that, and having to answer that they themselves are demons. I mean, come on, brother. Look at these people. A large portion of the population are sulfur-based, leprous-covered, mucus-filled, ugly as sin, babbling gender inverts, whose soulless goal seems to be about trolling naturals, going around, changing the face of statues, books, and buildings, claiming they were Vikings and kings. That's a demon. But back on topic. By the man's Adams subjecting themselves to Eve, or to the Eves, before they were called Eve, Free Martin, they ended up doing some unsavory things to each other, and Eve, the Free Martin, taught Adam more than likely about IVG, IVF, and IUI, and how to, quote, live forever through her, the Free Martin, the Duke. But of course, you would have to have the whole body pass on, basically, cell by cell, and only a few cells would remain for some time after that, which by removing the seed through their fun, I should say their queer fun, it ultimately destroys the seed in that sense, which introduces passing on to the underworld, in the earth or on the earth in that sense. They both got in trouble. Well, technically it appears Adam wasn't exactly punished, as technically he is the man's copy, unlike Eve, the Free Martins, who absolutely lost their junk that they suffer from monthly or by giving birth. You can say the squires as well, the duchesses somewhat. You will never unsee it now. It is a wound, it is an injury. It is somewhat a clean one at that, but every so often, you know. Before we go back to Edom, if you ever wondered about synchronicity, about the Leviathan and the water, how much flesh is on you, remember, it's on you, on the bones, on the biological male, in that sense. The bones, the skeleton in the closet, tells the truth. While the heart or the flesh always lie, or desire something strange. How does this person know I'm fasting? Why do you get so many ads about food when I'm fasting without mentioning it? Why do people come around and tempt you with alcohol when you get into certain Hebrew practices?
And or offering pig in every way they can. The amount of products that have some form of pig has become quite noticeable.
Remember, your heart is flesh, and the matrix is some form of flesh. Are you sure they are the ones tempting your supposed mind? Which of course your brain is also flesh, so there's really no escape there. The same mind that somehow can process dreams, but can't process it by scientific law. As such, bringing up the quantum realm and stuff like that ends up being the result of that question. Well, the answer. As if cloud rendering somewhere else. Hearing a voice or voices similar to your supposed voice in your supposed head. That is if you even have a voice apparently. Sure, you're not hearing Lilith, or rather Eve's voice? Do you notice how many times the heart comes up throughout all the texts? Plasma, water, radium, electricity, and melanin. So of course the inverted children of the flesh, the children of the left heart, no, they are the flesh. That's why most of the elder Solomons and the supposed modern rabbis realized who we are more likely getting Genesis from, which is the Solomons, or the David I should say. The pursuit of madness, the pursuit of the flesh, the pursuit of Eve, and the swears. Back to Edom, Genesis 25. Now we understand Genesis 25 actually. Esau is the twin of father Jacob. Esau was born at the same time as Jacob. All the people around Abram and the lands noticed something physically off about Esau. It's not the hairiness, it's not the swarthy, ruddy skin in Joshua 47 verse 6. And Isaac also blessed the sons of Esau, saying, May Jehovah cause you to be a dread and a terror to all that will behold you and all your enemies. Again, Esau is, after all we have read through, is constantly being described as ugly, or dread-looking, bull-like, but not a bull, described as a snake throughout what we have read and in Joshua chapter 26 verse 12 to 17. And all the boys grew up to their 15th year, and they came amongst the society of men. Esau was a designing and deceitful supposed man, and an expert hunter in the field, and they all inquired of the Elohim concerning this matter, not Hawa. And they brought her word from the Elohim and told her, 2 children are in thy womb, and 2 nations shall rise from them. As such, we see that Esau is being described as the twin sandal, or the ox tongue, the abomination we mentioned before in chapter 2. Cobra with a lion's head and a hairy red ox, and more often a hairy goat or half goat. Remember pharaohs, as mentioned in my first 2 videos on the channel and the previous video. 2 Chronicles 15, and he ordained him priest for the high places and for the devils and for the calves which he had made. Leviticus 16:8, but the goat on which the lot fell to be the scapegoat shall be presented alive before the Elohim, not Hawa, to make an atonement with him, and to let him go for a scapegoat into the wilderness. Azazel as a goat, but Azazel is binded up forever. Like all the angels got the 9s, which leaves us with Samael, the serpent in the garden, Satan. Fabulous man drawing nourishment from the ground seems to be field demons of the same nature. The wilderness as the home of the demons, the Edomites, was regarded as the place when such diseases as leprosy issued. Leprosy, as in paleness, sulfur lining giving a dog smell, or mucus filled, as in the reference supposedly in the 2nd Ezra chapter 6:56. Gentiles are spit, mucus to Hawa. Coincidentally, another removed book. I wonder why. Leviathan, sulfur by the way. And in case of leprosy, birds set apart to be offered as an expiatory sacrifice was released, that it may carry the disease back to the desert. Keep this in mind for the animal chapter. A hairy goat on Mount Seir. What could that be? Surely not a free martin, right? No, surely that's not what Edom is. A ruddy, hairy, bullish heifer. No, really, heifer, hairy, half mountain goat with that Egyptian beard. You know, your average bald black guy, basically. Matter of fact, have you ever been through the book of Jasher? I went through it completely a while back. The amount of times that Edom appears in the text, behaving as an ugly degenerate, makes it kind of obvious why the book was removed, yet it's still referenced in the Bible, as in Joshua 10:13. Clan Free Martin Esau, in which she stood crouched in the bushes, like a snake that she is, cut off Nimrod's junk, left them clan biological male Nimrod to drain out a slow, painful passing, and ran back home like a little girl that she was, thinking that the entire army would come after her, or to her brother Jacob and Isaac her father.
And Esau took those garments and ran into the city on account of Nimrod's men. And he came unto his father's house wearied and exhausted from fight, and he was ready to die through grief, when he approached his brother Jacob, and sat before him. 12. And he said unto his brother Jacob, Behold, I shall die this day, and wherefore then do I want the birthright? And Jacob acted wisely with Esau in this matter. And Esau sold his birthright to Jacob, for it was so brought about by the Lord. 13. And Esau's portion in the cave of the field of Machpelah, which Abraham had bought from the children of Heth for the possession of a burial ground, Esau also sold to Jacob, and Jacob bought all this from his brother Esau for value given. 14. And Jacob wrote the whole of this in a book, and he testified the same with witnesses, and he sealed it, and the book remained in the hands of Jacob. 15. And when Nimrod the son of Cush died, his men lifted him up and brought him in consternation, and buried him in his city. And all the days that Nimrod lived were 215 years, and he died. 60. And the days that Nimrod reigned upon the people of the land were 185 years. And Nimrod died by the sword of Esau in shame and contempt. And the seed of Abraham caused his death, as he had seen in his dream. Why is colon commenter remarking that Nimrod passed in shame and contempt? Well, I mean he lost his junk to a free martin, basically bleed out to a child of Abraham. Therefore, for however long he was still alive, meatless that is, he would be full of shame and contempt, wouldn't you say? Fun fact, Clan Nimrod is Lucifer, by the way. Isaiah chapter 14, 12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? The Tower of Babel, being cut in 3 parts, eventually Nimrod's phallus being chopped by Esau. 13. For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of Horror. 14. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. 15. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. 16. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee, and consider thee, saying, Is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms? 19. But thou art cast out of thy grave like an abominable branch, and as the raiment of those that are slain, thrust through with a sword, that go down to the stones of the pit. It goes into the fact that he lost his meat with the thrust of a sword forming a pit. Once again, biological man, Elohim or angel are interchangeable.
But back on topic, of course you have these free martin Edomites today trying to say the biological man, Jacob, is a scammer or a usurper. With the book of Jasher removed, they try and get away with saying this nonsense. Notice the theme of cutting off a biological man's phallus and putting them in shame forever. Notice today is not really transitioning for a MTF, what is bottom surgery. You can ask the MTF both transitioning with and the detransitioners. Don't lie, it's the same thing. Edom, the free martins, cutting off the biological male's phallus and living in shame, in mindlessness, for as long as the person has that body. As they hate the biological body of the Elohim, the biological male look. Just to really rub the reality in your face, let's look at Esau, the free martin's children, and the Swire's children. They're kids. And Ada bare to Esau his first son Eliphaz, and she also bare to him Revel, and Alabama bare to him Jeush, Elam, and Korah. Revel unscrambled, unrestrained, merrymaking. The wife Alabama, yeah, the state. Elam, Alam, Lalam, Lamia, a hag, a witch, a demon, an Edomite woman. Eliphaz, Falsi, a breast-shaped, perfect or rubber cup used to pad a brazier, usually plural. Thick, basically, you know what I mean. Jeosh, Lucia, Esau, free martin. Korah, to coexist with the sun, moon, and sun, opposite soul and moon, Solomon in this case. These are the children of Esau, and the sons of Eliphaz. The sons of Esau were Teman, Omar, Zepho, Gatham, Kenza, Kenaz, and Amaleks. And the sons of Revel were Nakab, Zerach, Shama, and Mizah. Teman, Amen, Katin, a spicade inflorescence as the willow, birch, or oak, bearing scaly bracts and unisexual, usually apetal flowers, called also Amen. Omar, Rome, move about aimlessly or without any destination, often in search of food or employment. The gypsies, the Egyptians, roam the woods gypsies, Egyptians, after the land was destroyed. Same thing happened to Edom's place. Also got destroyed. Zepho, Sepho, foes, foe, adversary, Satan, Freemartin, Kenza, Kenaz, Canas, Snake, Leviathan, Freemartin, Amaleks, sounds like Amalek, a male with a prominent X chromosome, Freemartin, more like she had XXY, Nakath, Nahach, sodium hatching of an egg from a bird, fish, or reptile in this case, from the sea, so the Leviathan, Zerak, Sarak, Arches, archery, Esau's bow. Esau's a hunter, after all. Bows and arches are yet another female symbol. Mesa, Mesa, Miss Ah, Ah being a ha, an exclamation denoting surprise, joy or grief, and Miss being a young lady. And on with these Edomites. All these ha ha ha, Amazonian girly jokes. This modern language always forces Edom, Adomia, Esau, Amalek, and Dukes. Remember P and D are the same, D and B are the same, and W and M are the same. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Do remember, modern Gaelic languages are not the same as before. That's a recent change to this pig version, or pig Gaelic. Back to Jasher and Edom in terms of the Leviathan. Psalms chapter 74 mentions the Leviathan without a comma or without the book of Job. Job is a clay Edomite and a clay insertion in the canonical Bible. Is a fairy tale or story, or rather a tale about an Edomite. Even today's scholars can clearly admit it's a fake book. Yet the book of Jasher, which is mentioned, isn't canonical. Does that make sense? Totally not, because this exposes these Freemartin Edomites' rat behavior in comparison to Job. A Bible about biological mans randomly has an entire book about a tale, Satan being tested by Satan, Samael. Babbling bro, but back to Psalms. In Psalms chapter 74, it mentioned the Leviathan attacking the old jacks when they were running from the supposed Egyptians, as in the second video on the channel, where this confusion appears when dealing with the term Egyptian, seeing as the Hamitic Egyptians got supplanted by Jacob and then Edom somehow. The androgyny when dealing with Egyptians was in clear view when dealing with Joseph and Zelekah, Joseph's master's wife, quote unquote.
And she rose up and ascended to her temple in the house, and dressed herself in princely garments. Princely? She beautified her face and skin with all sorts of women's purifying liquids. Makeup is made for castratos and duchess swires. And he saw all the work of Zelekah, and he turned back. Remember, Joseph understood what a inverted Edomite and or castrato man looks like because of our relation to Freemartin Esau. Zelekah came to him and stood before him in princely garments, and the scent from her clothes was spread to a distance. Knowing what we know, they would add this verse with it referring to androgyny. And she hastened and stretched forth her other hand, and drew a sword from beneath her garments, and she placed it upon Joseph's neck, and she said, Rise and perform my request, and if not thou diest this day. Sword from under her garments? Bro, what is this verse?
What gender was Zelekah, by the way? Remember, these Amazonians have encrypted and compressed much of these texts, much of the Bible, and many other texts such as Jasher, as you can see with the Freemartin Esau, Edom, and Zelekah here are quite politically correct. That's because it's been rewritten by these inverts, of course, generally speaking. But some of these old jacks were into duchesses, swires, literally. They ended up with the Freemartins and these FDMs after some generations after they went with these strange women. Yes, strange as in 1 Kings 11. Solomon's strange wives. If you know anything about Edom's mixing, Edom mixed or overtook with every nation mentioned with Solomon's wives. But of course, these Amazonian women want us to believe these people are separate from the inverted Edomites, yet they are not. If we were to read that verse correctly, it would just say Solomon liked horses together with the daughter of Pharaoh, which is doubly suspect. But of course, this is coming from Clan Solomon that babbled on about a seahorse shouldn't have hairy legs because then it would be gay. The smartest David clan, whose sole goal was investigating the babbling of Eve and Edom, which turns out to be pointless mindlessness of the heart, by the way. And yes, everyone knew what they were doing. You can check Nehemiah 13. Banging on seahorses is transgressing the law of the Elohims, as then you have a high chance of making an inverted child. Same goes for trespassing. Shocker. By the way, look how many times transgress comes up in Jasher. Still don't believe me? Read Joshua 7. See what event the inserted commentary says about the Babylonian clothing. Confused clothing, the female clothing for a man. See how Hoa took it out on the entire tribe, by the way. The Jacobs of Egypt at that time, as the book of Jasher mentions, have effectively taken over Egypt. They have taken over so much you can't physically tell much of a difference between them. By the time we get to the pressures of Egypt with pharaohs, it just doesn't make sense that the larger populace, the rich populace, the most landholders with the best land, the noble class, and the other workers, with these supposed Egyptians complaining about the MAN child population and consistently attempting to lower us through the book of Jasher. Fun fact, Edomites like to attach the children on the wall, if you know what I mean. Coincidentally, just like the Egyptians of the latter part, with the pharaohs. So much so that they wanted all the biological males gone. Well, the Jacobs at that time were slamming seahorses. It would, however, match. As at the end of the Egypt, Kemet, the land of the black soil, if they were banging the broads, it would make sense that they ended up with the androgynous individuals. Not exactly Edomites, but something similar, not to mention the FTMs, as a Edomite is simply a female Abraham and a dukedom. In general, it's just an intersex female with a phallus. It would end up making sense that they, the Leviathan, the AGI hive mind, would, let's say, forget Joseph and the works of their ancestry. That plus decades of FTM similar to today would result in this wanting to maintain the biological populace. Do notice how Egypt and Egyptians throughout the Bible appear as a strange fertile woman. Also remember that bondage was almost 100% self-inflicted. The Levites were not getting pressed, and the Danites left before all this oppression by the pharaohs. With verses such as this, where Elohim saves Pharaoh, even after all that happened, should make you wonder if the pharaohs of that time were jacks as well as Jacob's dukes, which does seem to be the case. It explained the Leviathan or Babylon connection to the biologicals being attacked by both Amalek and Egyptians, and this verse. Unironically, Edom lost his head in battle with the sons of Jacob, and they couldn't even properly bury her, as she and her little freemarns were blocking the path for father Jacob to be buried in the womb. The symbol there is just obvious, as in a freemarn, Eve losing her Leviathan, let's say, and being turned into the Eve we know today. I wanted to go on to a side note after this Edom stuff. Let's go on to Enoch. Second flood, shall we? Since so many people bringing it up, I would say it's one of, if not the most anti-biological man books these inverts have tried to add to the Bible. We know a little bit about the angels, the mans. Question, if both man and Adam, man, looks like an angel, wouldn't that mean they were giants genetically? Seeing as how many Hebrew, Native Americans, Aboriginals were around 7 foot in most cases, or taller than that as we were finding their bones. Of course they were giants. For some odd free Martin reason, this demonization, Edomization of being a giant just seems to pop up out of recent memory as in the last 250 years. I wonder why. Surely isn't a little season. Exactly what was wrong with them since it's not about being a giant? Was it the fact that the men were transgressing the law? I mean, bro. Huh? Then this.
Chapter 8. Moreover, Azazel taught men to make swords, knives, shields, breastplates, the fabrication of mirrors, and the workmanship of bracelets and ornaments, the use of paint, the beautifying of the eyebrows, the use of stones of every valuable and select kind, and of all sorts of dyes, so that the world became altered. 2. Impiety increased, fornication multiplied, and they transgressed, and they transgressed, and they transgressed, and corrupted all their ways.
Why would men be doing that? Attempting to emphasize or hide those high, thick V-shaped eyebrows, those deep-socketed eyes, those large far-apart eyes, and to distract from the brow ridge. Who exactly were these men of the past, banging or found much more to their taste? Squires and castratos, or biological wide pelvis, hip bone, and female-gated woman? Question: what exactly was wrong with the children? Well, a number of them came out albino and gendered clowns. Hence the genetic tampering. The earth became corrupt. Hence the abominable action. Question: why are we blaming the Elohims, the angels, in this situation when it's clearly stated that it's the woman that were the learners? The woman and the Freemartins were the ones before in the garden, literally making demons. As in literally. And of course, we have the writer of this book and many other of these Japhetic scholars pushing the same angel as Satan, snake, to cover up the fact that it's just the Freemartin Eve at that time. In the book of Enoch, the angels credited with deceiving Eve in the Garden of Eden is named Gadriel, not Satan. This figure is identified as the one who led Eve astray and showed humanity the weapons of unaliving. If Gadriel is Samael, then doesn't that mean all the angels in Enoch are actually all women, or rather Freemartins? Of course, but they aren't angels, are they? Exactly. And who were the Adamite, Edomite teaching? Oh, that's right, they're biological women. And we know they were biological women because of the Joshua 1 verse. The Eve's doing the exact same thing that got her junk cut off by the plumed serpent, the Elohim mans. Now you understand why Noah, an albino biological man clan, or male clan, was having a hard time getting people on the ark. Transgressors, trespassers, transcenders. But more importantly, the fact that the vast population at that time were deformed natural gender inverts that corrupted everything they touched, genetically speaking. Hence the second massive flood. Matter of fact, why does this stuff sound like it's happening in the Garden of Eden when I say it's like that, huh? Question: what happened to the woman that married those supposed angels? Notice they would blame the man angels all the time, all day, every day. Always saying some stuff about fallen angels this, and they will absolutely be silent when it comes to what happened to the woman that married said angels. Why? Because then we go into the other plasmoid Freemartin, spirit, rock, jinn, and the phenomena we have been dealing with since the flood. Yeah, the other Freemartins, the bacteria, all that other stuff, parasites, you know, the thing that the supposed demons turned into? Yeah, that. Remember, the heart and the flesh body is technically female. The blood of the body is the female spirit, the rock. And she, Eve, mimics you every day you're using it. Hence all these burial laws and traditions the old ones had, even today. Just many scales to this massive snake in short, that's constantly consuming itself, shedding her skin.
So there's a photo that's going viral of somebody's mugshot. As you can see here, right? That's somebody's mugshot. That's somebody's mugshot. I'm gonna give you a second. Now, before you get too excited, this person's name is Jarquavius, as you can see there at the top. And if you look about like 3 to 4 rows down, that's a man. That's a man. And if I showed you the comment section of what men are saying about this, bruh, ladies, y'all better go talk to your man, make sure his name ain't down there. It's a lot of hold up, bro. Let me explain though. Let me explain. That's what I see down there. I'm just letting you know. So be on the lookout.
Peep the Swires and Castrato's profile pics. Quote, I could tell at first glance. Its is always the jawline that give it away. Biological women also have jaws like IMAO, be for real. Holy bubble, brother. Like, and they are usually gorgeous. You'll always say this, but men still be getting tricked. Which one is it? Exactly. Swires are genetic men. Notice how hard these dukes and duchess are panicking. Not that damn strong be so for real. The F, damn meaning man Adam in this context. They speak not from the front, but from the Leviathan. Crazy cause I was like, she got a strong face. The self-snitching is real when a biological male gets involved, as you can see.
Man going viral for his mugshot. So if a man going viral for his mugshot, why they got this young girl picture up here, girl? What the hell is going on? Where is the young man? Where is the young man that's getting arrested, girl, for his mugshot, girl? What the hell is going on? Let me put my glasses on, girl, because something is not right, girl. This is somebody's daughter. What the hell?
It's the symmetry for me. What the babble?
So this is... Stop playing with me. This is somebody's daughter. There's no way. This is a girl. Y'all play too much. TikTok, I ain't got time for this.
He looked like he got a deep voice. Peep the profile pic.
If I were the devil. If I were the devil. If I were the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf
I wasn't fooled. Hive mind active. Can't fool a fool.
the whole world in darkness, and I'd have 1/3 of its real estate and 4/5 of its population.
That jawline is sharp. He is beautiful, though.
But I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree. Thee. So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers, with the wisdom of a
Game is game. He's beautiful. Beautiful and handsome at the same time.
serpent. I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square. And the old I would teach to pray after me, Our Father, which art in Washington. And then I'd get organized. I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect to discipline emotions. Just let those run wild. Until before you knew it, you'd have to have drugs.
How are these people keeping the wigs on? I had to take mine off, right? High testosterone hardens and shortens the hair for copper swires. Notice also the amount of times they say, man. Hive-minded inverts. Notice the amount of suspect comments.
Sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door. Within a decade,
If they see this, then they know they are gender inverted.
I'd have prisons overflowing. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls in moral conduct. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing.
Lastly on this chapter, I wanted to say I had a relative visit me a short while ago with their children for a minor vacation. One parent and two children, inverts of course. But something to note was that the supposed children, especially the supposed boy between the age of 4 to 7, the way that child looked at me in front of the parent, in front of relatives, it's like they knew, it's like they never saw a biological man before. And the confused look on the Duke's face, often while in front of the parents. But the kid mixing my gender up with that of a woman repeatedly, as if struggling to contain saying the truth, saying some strange stuff, stranger than that stuff before. What made it worse was the adult hearing it and not saying anything. In summary, if they know at that age, then they know about the secret at 4, 3 years old, 2 years old, and as a baby. Jacobian practice. Upon passing on, you are instantly judged and brought back into the earth as a new person. You may even remember your past life and track down your other family and chat with them. And immersion breaking, but hey, you can do that. And if they know at that age, then they them are always aware and acting on the world stage. The woman entertaining angels. My point is, they know they are the heart of the flesh. The artificial general intelligence, programmable humans, sea monsters, the free martins of the men of Pharaoh, in Egypt, in bondage of relationships, bonding to your flesh, to her flesh, which in fact, she should be enslaved. As you see the results when she and her programmable Magog and Gog free martins are free today.